Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Korra news update video. This is going to be my second video covering San Diego Comic Con 2014. So yeah, let's get straight into it. First of all, we'll deal with the obvious big news, and that is Korra switched to digital. Now, it's been further explained to us what's actually happened by Mike and Brian at the panel. We have basically all the details about what exactly is happening with the show as of next Friday. So the switch to digital, as we know, means it's not going to air on TV, but it is going to be released on Nick.com, the Nickelodeon app, Hulu, Xbox, Google Play, and Amazon. So as of now, they're all the places we know that are going to get the episodes. Nick.com and I think the Nick app are the only places it's going to be like free to watch, but you'll be able to buy them on the other places as well. I assume in like good quality, because Nick.com isn't amazing quality, but it's okay. And what's going to happen is that starting next Friday, August 1st, they're going to release one episode every Friday. And the time we got confirmed yesterday is going to be they're going to upload the episodes at 12 midday, in the afternoon, Eastern time on Friday. So that's pretty good. I think it's around 5 p.m. where I am in Ireland, so that time suits me perfectly. Just being able to watch it nearly immediately. And it's going to go like that up until August 22nd, when the book 3 finale will be, at which point they'll put out the last two episodes, so 12 and 13 they'll put out on that date. So that's our finale date, we have the details, and that's really cool that we now know. Now, in terms of the explanation they gave for the switch to digital, they basically, the videos are up online if you want to actually see what they said at the panel, but effectively what they said was just that, they looked back, Nickelodeon with book 1 and 2, they looked back through the numbers and found out that Korra's digital numbers, especially for book 2, were insane. If you'll remember correctly, the book 2 finale was premiered online before it actually aired on TV because we unlocked it. The viewing figures for that on Nick.com, Brian basically said, were insane, they were amazing. And that, plus the number of download figures over various services over the course of book 2, when the ratings started to go down, showed them that Korra was super digital focused, and the TV ratings weren't so much. In addition to that, they mentioned that Korra isn't your typical Nickelodeon show, and I think what he really meant by that was not just the story, the magnitude of the story that happens, but just that it's a show with continuity. It's a show that, if you want to show this, you have to show it in order. If you want to re-air it, you have to show it in order and set a block for all episodes. Well, with nearly every other Nickelodeon show they have, since there's no real continuity between episodes, iCarly doesn't really have any apart from the odd two-parter, I don't think, they can show any episode whenever they want. And they don't have to make a big deal about it or really switch up their scheduling. While if they air Korra or Avatar, they have to set a block of, if they do it weekly, 61 weeks to air Avatar, or if they do it over the course of a few weeks, a block of a certain amount of weeks just to air Avatar or Korra. And so you can understand why it's not really suited to Nickelodeon, just to have one show that is so continuity focused and stuff like that. So the switch to digital, the way Mike and Brian explained it at the panel, made complete sense, and I think if you listen to them talk about it, it makes a lot of sense. Now, what they did also say was that they were frustrated with how Nickelodeon actually went about implementing this switch to digital, in that from what they knew, the plan was originally for book 3 to air full on digital and it not to be on TV at all. They switched it back to airing on TV, and then they did the whole online only advertising. Then they switched it back again, which is what we have now, to being digital starting next week. And so that's what's frustrating us as fans, that they did it in the middle of the season. It made it look really bad for the show that they did this in the middle of the book, and that was part of the big problem, I think. But the explanation they gave was good, and I think most people who've heard the explanation and saw what's actually happened here are fairly okay with the switch to digital. It's not going to suit everyone, obviously. Some people are still, with TV, but everything is moving more and more digital focused. They even said the whole industry is effectively moving this way as well, and because Korra is so digital in the first place, with our fandom. Again, more than any other Nickelodeon show, it seems to getting the big download numbers online more than anything else. They kind of maybe just see this as something that's an experiment with a digital only release that they may use sometime in the future. Because we think Korra is the only show that Nickelodeon mistreats, but look at TMNT on Nick, and that's like a merchandising giant. You walk into a toy store, all you see is Nickelodeon's Turtles stuff. But they treat it pretty badly in terms of the way they're airing it. Now, I don't know if the scheduling, the production of the show is just a little bit behind, but season 2 of Turtles still hasn't finished yet, and it's been going on for ages. They've had like 5 or 6 breaks over the course of the book. Admittedly, it's twice as long as this season of Korra, but there's been so many breaks, and as of now, like I don't really know when the season's even coming back. They're stopped on episode 22, 4 to go, and they just stopped it. As far as we know it was coming back after like a week break. That didn't happen. I don't think they even said at the Comic-Con panel. Like, I haven't checked up on it, so I don't know, but we don't know when that's coming back either. So Turtles has continuity between episodes sometimes, and it seems like they're treating that the same way similarly. So I wouldn't be surprised if Turtles eventually switches to digital sometime down the road, because I think they've confirmed up to season 4 of TMNT, and it's probably their second best show after Korra. So we'll see what Nickelodeon do in the future with digital stuff. But it looks like book 4 is going to air digitally as well. They also confirmed that the switch to digital had zero impact on production, the stories they wanted to tell. As far as they were aware, production was exactly the same as the first 2 books. Nothing changed because of digital. Okay, so that's that out of the way. That was the big thing. The panel happened, obviously. That was what they opened up with, as I said. They then showed the episode of The Terror Within, which is just a few hours before they aired on TV. So that was fine. A treat for the people at the convention. It was a good episode for them to see with the producers and stuff like that. But for us watching at home, it's like, okay, there's 22-minute break in the middle of the panel. After that, they came back and answered some questions from people online. This is probably my biggest problem with the panel, is just that, okay, I can understand why you maybe don't want to give the crowd a live mic, but you did this last year as well, and people were annoyed at the questions you chose to ask because people submitted them online. And this year they did the same, but it was almost worse, because it made the voice actors almost look completely useless at the panel. They were given such poor questions that the voice actors couldn't really answer, apart from super generally. Like, Janet Varney was asked, how good of a job do you think Korra's doing as being the Avatar? And she basically, I think, opened up by saying, I'm asked this question all the time. Then why were you asked it again, by whoever was organising the panel and giving them the questions to ask? Mindy Sterling, the voice of Lin Beifong, her first time at one of these panels is asked, how do you like Lin as a character? It's just like, could you ask a more general question to someone this is the last San Diego Comic-Con panel, we learned that at the end for Korra, and that's the one question you ask her, and stuff like that. They just got very basic questions, what do you do when you first get a script or something like that, to the voice actors. They've answered that a bunch of times, especially Janet Varney and David Faustino, who've been on the show from day one. Why would you ask that question again? And especially at the Comic-Con panel, when you've got a whole room of fans there who are dedicated enough to camp out in line for a few hours beforehand, dedicated just to get to Comic-Con, and then you don't let them ask questions. It comes across as really bad that they were afraid to give the crowd a live microphone to just ask questions. I can understand maybe this year, just because of the whole lead into the convention with everything looking very bad for Korra. You may get some people going up and just abusing Nick over the thing, maybe abusing Mike and Brian because they didn't understand that it was Nick's fault or stuff like that. But I think the people at Comic-Con are happy to be there and just want to get the best experience out of it, and they would ask better questions than that, because because of the questions asked, it was not the voice actor's fault. They could only answer what they were given, but it made them seem completely useless on the panel, and there was no point having them there. And I feel bad saying that, but that was the case. didn't really add much to the panel apart from filling some seats. Really, like they didn't do it much. D. Bradley Baker arriving during the end of the fan panel and singing "Secret Tunnel" with everyone. That was a cool moment. Definitely check out that video online. It was cool to see. But again, like, what relevance did it have to Korra, and stuff like that? After that, they showed some concept art, which is always cool, but at the same time, we're right in the middle of this book. We've seen Zahir, Pili, Ghazan already. Like, it's not like these are new characters. Like, this is the sort of stuff we should have seen on the panel months ago, but we didn't get that. Because of the timing, obviously, that's the key thing with this concept art, timing. And then, like, a few months down the road, like, I think in January, we're going to get the book 3 art book. So, again, most of this stuff is going to be in there, so it didn't really have as big of an impact. There's a few little pieces of information we got, like, John Michael Higgins, who voices Varric, mentioned that at some point in the book we're going to get to see him talk about his childhood, and it's going to be, like, amazing, hilarious, or something like that. I think they ended up talking about, like, the heights of the characters, and I think they said Korra was like 5'7", Pili is 6'8", which is insane. Definitely noticed that in the episode. She's taller than Ghazan, who's a pretty big guy. And yeah, overall, that was basically the panel. They also at the end showed some pencil tests from Studio Mir, showing some future fight scenes, which is cool to see. But they almost like are a bit spoilery. So like I don't really like reporting on that sort of stuff, just the spoilers. Then, especially for like big fight scenes happening later on in the book. Then they finished with a trailer for basically the remaining few episodes, and apparently it was a really kind of shocking, exciting trailer, but they haven't put it up online, so it sounds like a cool panel if you were there. Like, you wouldn't be overly disappointed having seen this in person, because you got to see an episode, you got to see a new clip, plus all the other stuff. Your voice actors are there in the room. But in terms of like watching this from home, as I've done for the last 4 years from Comic-Con, having never attended, there was nothing really that, like, you come out of this panel and go, wow, that was amazing. I'm always going to remember this panel because of this thing that happened, because nothing really happened. The one thing I think you can say you'll remember this for, this was the panel where they had to open it up by talking about the Korra switch to digital. And that's not like a cool, like, awesome, exciting news thing that you remember this panel for. That's that they were forced into this position where they had to explain the switch to digital to a room of concerned Avatar Korra fans, and that's not a good thing to remember the panel for. So overall, very average, very disappointed with the way they do listener questions, not listener questions, fan questions, and then they did say that they probably won't be coming back to Comic-Con next year, so that's gonna be that was the last core panel at SDCC. They may be going to New York Comic-Con, which is cool. I hope they do, definitely. But yeah, that was the panel, and I think a lot of people were very disappointed with it. There wasn't a lot to it. There was a few like other little things, like they showed like full screen shots of the Su Yin at the circus. That shot was really cool. I'm actually going to post the image of that one here. And they showed the full family portrait of Su Yin and her family. Not much to it. Like, it seemed like it was fairly recently taken, so there wasn't much to it really. But it was cool to see. But we'll probably see that stuff in the book 3 art book. I'm not really sure about what else to say. So yeah, moving away from the panel, in terms of like miscellaneous information that just happened over the course of the panel, the convention, some people met up with Gene Yang and asked him some questions about the future of Avatar comics, and basically couldn't say much, but what he did say was that there is at least one more comic series after the Rift. So that's cool to know that there definitely is a new comic series coming after the Rift, and that's perfectly fine. That's all he could say. Like, I didn't expect him to say there's 5 coming down the line, because the way it's worked so far is that when the Promise was coming to an end, we found out about the Search. When the Search was coming to an end, we found out about the Rift. We never knew that like the Rift was coming when we had the Promise. So we've never been like 2 books ahead, like knowing what's coming. They're basically just finishing the Rift right now, focusing on getting this new series that they haven't announced yet right. And then maybe like once they're done with the Rift fully, it's all out, then maybe they'll start work on the second series after the Rift, basically, and stuff like that. So I don't think this means that, like, oh no, there's only one comic series left. Avatar comics are coming to an end. It's just that right now he knows that, look, for sure there's one more coming, and we haven't got confirmation about what the next one we're doing is kind of the best way to look at it. After this were some of the signings where we got to see the convention exclusive poster this year. So this is always a cool thing to look forward to at Comic-Con each year. They've always been really cool posters. This one was amazing. I think it's a really cool poster. You can see it here. So really cool. Korra, Kai, Opal, Red Lotus in the background. Just really interesting colors, bright, vibrant. Some of the new characters who are really interesting, and villains in the background. Really perfect poster. Wish I could get my hands on one, but I don't want to pay insane prices for it. What else was there? Then video game news. That was the, for me, the most exciting thing from this convention has been the video game news. More than the panel or merchandise or stuff like that, the video game news has been great. Now, obviously this would have been cool no matter when it came out, but because it came out during Comic-Con, and then there was the big video game party where a lot of fans got to play it and stuff like that, it just was all the more exciting. So we got our first, I think IGN put up the first video, and we got to see 15 minutes of footage from the game. Then I think GameSpot put up a video, and it was like 25 minutes of footage. I think overall the GameSpot video is definitely the one you should check out, because the IGN one is just like someone plays the game. Like, they explain it as he's going crazy through the level, just playing it. While with the GameStop one, he actually, like, at the start of the level, they just stop and they're just like, here, let's show you how this works. Look, you can switch between the elements, and they just show you, not in the middle of combat, just Korra on her own using the elements, kind of showing us. And it was a nice, more of a kind of tutorial introduction to things, what's happening. And overall, it just seems like a really cool game. The cel-shaded animation of the game, graphics, looks awesome, and you really feel like you're in that world, and it's the best possible way they could have implemented Korra's animation style in a video game, I think, possible. It just looks amazing. Then the actual gameplay, it's obviously like fairly basic in that it's like move to one location, fight enemies, move to the next one, fight enemies. But because, as Avatar fans, I think it's just going to be really cool to see that, and they make it really interesting, because not just you have your standard enemies showing up, but then along the way you have like known characters from the show, like Two-Toed Ping shows up at one point, Viper, some of the other Triad members show up. You see Mecha Tanks as like the boss at the end of the first level. It's just really cool, like referential and all that sort of stuff. And then in terms of the actual combat, it seems really, really cool. Like, it seems like the sort of thing, like, it's going to take a little bit of getting used to the fact that the controls are basically that you have a light attack, a heavy attack. I think you can jump. There's a block button and stuff like that. But then I think you press or one or whatever it is on Xbox controller, and right button. I think that's what it is. And you switch between elements. And you can do this in the middle of a combo if you want. So you can do all water bending for a level if you want, or you can literally, within 4 attacks, by tapping the switch element button at the right time, have a 4-hit combo that's 4 different elements, which is super cool. They did say, that the game's only 4 hours long. Again, it's a downloadable title. It's only going to cost $15 for PS4, PS3, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and PC. I think they said it was Steam is going to be the way it's accessible for PC. And then they also showed off some of the kind of more mini game type thing, some of the runner levels, which is Korra on Naga, kind of running through the city. You have your attacks, you can jump, slide under stuff. Seems like an interesting distraction, like if you get a bit too tired of the combat, that you can play that for a while to get a different experience. There's also the Pro Bender levels, which they didn't show, but they're going to be another kind of mini game type thing. So overall, it seems like there's a lot of content in this game for what it is, and if it sells well, which at this stage, like, there's so much hype around this game, it's going to sell extremely well. Wonder, will they do something like between book 3 and 4, or will they go for like a bigger game, like just expand this out, because all I see is like in this game is like it's going to be cool to play as a game by itself, but I see so much potential for like take this graphic system and implement the same sort of controls, fighting, but in a more kind of open world type game, and you've got like this perfect core game. Like imagine being able to just explore the Avatar universe, maybe like make the controls a little bit more platform focused and less combat focused, and you get this kind of more like an adventure game than a full on fighting game type thing. Same graphics, it could be amazing. So I see a lot of potential in this. But yeah, they again confirmed, the cutscenes of the game are going to be done by animation studio that's worked on Avatar before. Mike and Brian are heavily involved in this game more than any other Avatar game before. The story is written by Tim Hedrick. It's going to be all canon and stuff like this. They sold this game perfectly at this convention, I think, and I can't wait to play it. Only disappointment was that, one, they didn't show the 3DS game, so we have no idea really what that game is actually about, because that's going to be a full-on release. That's coming out on cart for DS. It's not a downloadable title. And then that they're still going with the release date fall 2014, and like, but come a few days we're in fall and we're not going to know when it's coming out. So based on what we saw, the game looks basically complete. It looks like they only have final touches to do in this game, unless the end of like the story mode isn't quite done yet, but maybe probe ending's not quite perfected. But from what I saw, the main gist of that game looked done. Like the graphics didn't seem to like stutter at all or anything like that. This game seemed done, and I hope we get to see it sooner rather than later. Like I hope this is like early fall rather than late fall, I suppose is what the main thing I want to say. Haven't heard a lot of fan kind of reviews of playing the game, but I suppose most people who are at the convention at this party are probably like asleep right now, just because of time difference here, Ireland and San Diego. But we'll find out that more in a couple of hours, I guess. Most of like the game sites that did play it seem to really appreciate what it was. Like it's a downloadable title, but it's doing a lot. You can tell that the people at Platinum Games as well, who were making it, seem really passionate about Korra, just making this a really cool game. That it's not just, oh, it's a licensed game. It's okay that they just want to make a good game that happened to be set in the Korra universe. And it looks really cool. They mentioned something about items, but never really explained what the items do. There's like healing items plus other stuff. There is some replay value in that there are different modes. The story starts off where you have to get all your elements back because they're taken away from you at the start. But you can start like basically a new game plus type of mode and start the game with all your bending skills once you complete it first on an easy mode. But yeah, I can't wait to play this game. I'm definitely going to be getting it for 360 because unfortunately this is still not available for Wii U. They haven't said that. I'll probably get the 3DS game as well, just because they seem to be going for a completely different type of game, and I think I just really want to play all the core games that are coming out. It seems like effort is going into them. They're studios that have done good work on other series. Platinum are doing excellent work on this, and I think Webfoot Technologies will put a lot of effort into the DS game. But yeah, we'll find out what's happening more with them later on. But yeah, really, that's all that's happened over the course of the weekend. There were signings all over the place. There were other little nick things going on here and there. But I think that was the main gist of what happened at the panel. There was no further merchandise reveals for Korra or anything like that. Yeah, maybe we'll get extra bits of information when like the people come back from Comic-Con and post up all the pictures they had and get all their stories out. But for now, I think that's the main bit. I covered the digital stuff, I covered the panel, covered the little bits of information we got from people meeting with creators and so on. Fan panel happened. I don't think there was any news from it. It was just like fun. Like Jessie Flower dressed up as Toph and was saying some of her most famous lines there. But overall, I didn't really hear of anything like super of note that would be like of interest to people who didn't attend. But yeah, that's been the Comic-Con news update. definitely tune into the Avatar Online podcast later on today, when we'll be recording a San Diego Comic Con special, where myself plus some other fans will be discussing what happened over the course of Comic Con. We'll get more in depth on the whole Korra switch to digital, plus our thoughts on all of the stuff that's happened, including the merchandise I talked about in my previous video and stuff like that. But yeah, thanks for watching this video, and bye.